Thank you, Mr. Madan. By now, I guess all of you would have got a lot of knowledge about XBRL and its benefits, courtesy our eminent speakers before me. So what I'll try and do is not to repeat what my eminent speakers have already spoken about. The theme of my presentation this afternoon will be more about what are other organizations or other countries, how they are adopting XBRL. What are the benefits from a regulator's perspective, from an organization's perspective? Given the fact that we already have a mandate, what are the options in front of us in order to go ahead and implement that mandate? And also some learnings from some of our developed markets or some of our other projects which we know of, and keep an eye on what kind of challenges we will face and what kind of corrections we need to make in order to make sure that we do not repeat the same mistakes. And finally, what's the future? What are we going to say? What is the vision of this entire initiative from our point of view is what I would like to share with you. You would know that by now that we are not the only country in the world which is adopting XBRL. There have been many countries who have already adopted, in the process of adopting, have made XBRL mandatory. The countries are US. We would know that Securities and Exchange Commission is one of the key proponents of adopting XBRL. Similarly, in other countries like Spain, you have Bank of Spain, which is the regulatory bank. Then you have Her Majesty's Revenues and Customs in United Kingdom. Similarly, in China and Australia, you have regulatory authorities who are already in the process of implementing and have implemented at various stages XBRL reporting. And not to be left behind, in our own country, we have got Reserve Bank of India, which has already mandated the filings in XBRL format, and along with that, we have the Ministry of Corporate Affairs. So this kind gives you an overview, a global outlook of the way in which the world is heading towards in terms of adoption of XBRL as a standard for reporting. Why are so many countries, so many regulators going for this adoption? What is the real need for doing it? Of course, we know that we will be able to standardize information. Imagine that you had 10 documents all in PDF formats coming to you, and you had the task of collating the information together manually. It will be a very, very painful process. But if you have a way to pick and choose the piece of information you need, consolidate that electronically with a click of a button, life would be so much easier. That's what we are talking about, standardization and consolidation from a regulator's perspective, who get a lot of data from a multiplicity of organizations, companies, and they need to have this level of standardization in order to make any sense of what kind of data they are getting. Also, the quality of disclosure. So for example, if you have got 5 items in your report, and out of which 2 are mandatory, and you have forgotten to fill that up, who's doing the check for you? Is it a manual check you want to do, or you will be more comfortable if there is a way to automate that level of completeness in your information? We learned a lot about the calculation, the way the calculations are stored, the way the business rules are getting defined. Would you not want somebody who can check this almost automatically, and thereby, just by doing that, enhance the quality of information or the quality of disclosure which is coming out? The robustness which comes in through that process enables the organization to have better reliance on the data itself which is getting disclosed. We talked a lot about transparency and reusability. I'll just talk about a little bit about reusability. What exactly do we mean by reusability? It is something like this, that you have got, say, information about, say, revenue for an organization, and you want to really find out that, well, how the organization is performing, and hence you need to see the revenue. But you can also see that information in the context of what is the total market if I add up all the revenues of all the firms in one particular sector. So immediately we are talking about 2 different usage of the same information. The moment we talk about more than one way in which we are using the information, we would need something which is reusable. Imagine the difficulty if you would have to again sit and prepare a different report essentially for the same data and then figure out what is that meaning or the content of that information. So reusability is the order of the day. We have heard about mergers and acquisitions. You need to do a lot of due diligence. You need to figure out what's the kind of growth an organization will have in the future, and you need to collect a lot of data. The analysts need to collect a lot of data. How simple it would be if you are able to get all that information and you are able to reuse that information at the click of a button. We did talk about analysis being 80% and data collection being 20%. And that is exactly the spirit in which we would like to do the enhanced analytics. And of course, all this thing effectively reduces the cost of compliance, reduces the cost of collecting information, and that's where it actually delivers value. Bringing down the cost is one aspect of it. Freeing up quality time of people for enhancement of productivity is the other side of the coin. And if you bring these two together, you can see enormous value from the perspective of organizations which adopt this particular standard.